the United stand. It's Wednesday morning and there's a lot of news to cover. Erik ten Hag putting his foot down with Garnacho. Garnacho might want to go to the World Cup, but Erik ten Hag doesn't want him to go. Also, new rumours about Harry Kane coming to Manchester United in the summer, but what would it actually take to get Harry Kane into Manchester United? And Erik ten Hag has some certain requirements that he wants for the summer regarding the Kane transfer. Also, injury news on Bruno. We all know he's not going to be in the team for tomorrow against Spurs, and how is this going to affect the team? How is Erik ten Hag going to adapt? And a little bit more stuff to get into as well. A couple of stories that definitely raised my eyebrows this morning, taken with a pinch of salt, but we'll get into them as well. But welcome everybody, good morning and welcome to the morning show. Let's hit the first headline straight away and let's get into it, and it is going to be Alejandro Garnacho, and I'll get your comments in as well and make sure you have your say, maybe get a few polls going, so make sure you get involved in that. But straight away it's coming out that Alejandro Garnacho wants to go to the Under-20s World Cup to represent Argentina, and he's going to have a conversation with Erik ten Hag to ask him to go. There's a little bit of a report being asked saying that, a report being wrote saying that Garnacho said to Erik ten Hag, or he's going to say to Erik ten Hag, I need to write my story with the Argentina national team shirt. I ask you please to let me go to the Under-20s World Cup. Obviously, that is just hearsay. He hasn't actually gone out and said that. That is just what they think Garnacho is going to say. The reports are coming in that he really strongly wants to go to this Under-20s World Cup to represent Argentina. But Erik ten Hag remains very adamant that he doesn't want Alejandro Garnacho to leave. He says Man United remain adamant on their position about Alejandro Garnacho attending the Under-20s World Cup. Javier Mascherano has already spoken to the club and Erik ten Hag doesn't want him to leave. So it's this situation now where Garnacho is going to not beg, but basically like very kind of plead to Erik ten Hag that he wants to go to the Under-20s World Cup with Argentina, and Erik ten Hag's like, Garnacho, we need you here. We pay your wages and we want you to stay and we want you to play. But what's your take on this, everyone? Get in the comments. Would you let Garnacho leave? Because in this sort of situation, when it comes to players that are from South America, often the national team means the world to them, and it means more than the club. We've seen it with players all across Europe, how much the national team means to them. We've seen how much all the English players love going to the national team as well. But in South America, it's just a little bit different. It's like they are brought up worshipping the national team. It is absolutely huge for them. We saw when Argentina won the World Cup, the celebrations in Buenos Aires and all across Argentina. It was unbelievable, and obviously all countries are massively supportive of the World Cup hopes when it comes to the countries, but in South America they just seem to take it that little step further. So I could understand why Garnacho wants to go, but at the same time I'm sat here and as a Man United fan, I'm thinking Manchester United pay your wages, you're employed by Manchester United, it's a really crucial point of our season. Garnacho is a crucial player for us now. As a substitute off the bench, he's been unbelievable for us. The most goal contributions off the bench by any player in the Premier League. I think he's needed, especially in the second half of the season, especially when we get into the games that we're going to miss. If it was the actual World Cup, like, you'd be understanding. Like, you know, it's the World Cup, and obviously it wouldn't clash anyway, so you wouldn't have to make that decision. But Jose Mourinho's done it with players in the past. I think he did it with Marcus Rashford when it came to the England Under-20s World Cup, and he said, no, you're not going. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Garnacho is going to get picked for Argentina no matter what when the next time comes around, if he keeps playing well for Manchester United. He doesn't need to go there and prove his worth to the actual Argentinian national side. Yes, it'd be brilliant for him to win a World Cup with Argentina in the Under-20s World Cup, but at the same time, Man United have got an FA Cup final to play. We've got to secure top four. And Erik ten Hag probably isn't going to be too keen on the fact that he's choosing to miss club football. That might put him a little bit out of play with Erik ten Hag. So get in the comments down below what you guys think. Let's get a poll straight away on this before we discuss it. Let's get a poll in the chat. Would you let Garnacho go to the Under-20s World Cup for Argentina? Would you let that happen if you were Erik ten Hag? I'll be interested to see if Erik ten Hag actually does hold his ground on this, or if he stays firm on what he actually thinks, and that the fact is that he doesn't want him to leave. Got a super chat in from Tongi saying, Beth, how many sugars do you have in a cup of tea? Strange super chat to start off the morning, but I actually don't have any. I have my tea just with a little bit of milk. bit boring, no sugars for me. On a little bit of a diet moving into the summer, do you know what I mean? Gareth Nolan says, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Thank you for joining the Members Club. And the poll is up in the chat now, so make sure you get your say in. Would you let Garnacho go to the Under-20s World Cup? My personal opinion is I wouldn't let him go. I don't know if that's a bit harsh, but I'm going to click no on that straight away. Already 61% no, but let's get the votes coming in and see what you think. And Paul Lucas says, I imagine the pressure in Argentina is to play. Yeah, it will be. Argentina will be expecting him to go there and play, and obviously he's kind of he's our star boy, but he's Argentina's star boy as well. Like, he's an unbelievable talent for them, and they're going to want him to play for the country. But wait until the next time the Argentinian national side come around. Like, he's going to play for the senior team. I don't think he needs to go and play for the under-20s. That's just my personal opinion. And M1K3, clubs are obliged to release their registered players to represent teams of the country, for the player is eligible to play on the basis of his nationality. I'm not sure how that actually works, but I'm sure Erik ten Hag would have a choice on this when it comes to Under-20s World Cup. I think if it was a senior national team, he'd have to go, but it's not. It's the Under-20s. But let's see what happens with this. And Mr. Viking HD Gaming, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Thank you for joining. And Abdul Kayam says, why are we upset that the player wants to go? I'm not upset that he wants to go. I just think he's a really crucial point in the season for Manchester United, and the priority is to play for Manchester United at the end of the day. And Joe H says, no one has the right to block a player from representing his country. Oh, the poll is actually getting pretty split now as well. 56% no, 44% yes. I just think we're in the FA Cup final. Because the games he's going to miss, let's talk about the games that Garnacho's going to miss if he does go. He's going to miss Bournemouth, he's going to miss Chelsea, he's going to miss Fulham, but the most important one for me, he's going to miss the Manchester City final. We don't know how things are going to play out until now at the end of the season. You would like to hope that we have top four secured, especially if we get a result at Tottenham tomorrow. But I think that's even in question. I'm going to get onto that in a bit. But you'd like to think that we are going to get top four in the position that we're in now. And the games that we've got coming up, our hardest run, I think, is about to come in the likes of Spurs, Brighton and Aston Villa. I think they're the tougher games than Bournemouth, Chelsea and Fulham. Obviously, Chelsea can turn up on the day, but they just don't threaten me whatsoever. They've got really nothing left to play for apart from embarrassment this season. Bournemouth, I think we can beat them without Garnacho. And Fulham are a tough side, but at that point, it's our last game of the season. Hopefully, we'll already have top four secured by then. So I don't know if Garnacho would be a huge miss in any of them games. But the one game that we need him for is the cup final against Manchester City. Let's put it this way. Manchester City, at that point in the season, could be about to win the treble. They could be about to win the treble, and, you know, Manchester United are the only team that's ever done that in English football and won the treble. And Manchester City might be about to do that. And the only team that's left to stop them could be Manchester United. Let's rewind to Old Trafford. Man City versus Manchester United. We won 2-1. The game changed when Garnacho came off the bench. He made that brilliant assist to Rashford. He is a game-changing substitute. Say if we're in 1-1 in that game, or 1-0 down, or, you know, it's a really tight game. Bringing Garnacho off the bench could be such an important substitution to make. And not having Garnacho there, I'm not saying it's all on him, but it generally could be the difference between City winning a treble and not winning the treble, because he's that good and he can make that much of a difference. So for that game alone, I think he has to stay. At the end of the day, obviously national football is really important to certain individuals, and I understand that. And I get the point that he wants to go and he wants to prove himself to Argentina. He wants to kind of highlight his name in Argentina. They absolutely love international football. But imagine winning the game for Manchester United in the FA Cup final that stops Manchester City winning the treble. That, you would go down in history. It would be unbelievable. So if I was Erik ten Hag, I'd be saying to Garnacho, look, we need you for this really important game in Manchester United's history. You are going to play, whether it's off the bench or whether it's starting. It'll probably be off the bench, but you are going to have a part to play in this game. You're in my plans, and we need you. And if you make an impact on this game, your name's going to go down in history at Manchester United. And you're going to be able to play for the Argentinian national team in the future anyway, because you're so talented. I'm going to make sure you're going to be a constant part of this Man United team that's going to be winning things. So if I was Erik ten Hag, I'd be trying to convince him to stay, if I'm being honest with you, just because, personally for me, if it was like Elanga, for example, I know it's different for different. I know it shouldn't be different because it should be the same rules for all players. And I think Erik ten Hag tries to embed that philosophy on the team. But if it was Elanga, I wouldn't care, because he's not going to make an impact, really. He's not important to the team, and that sounds harsh, but he's not. Garnacho is game-changing. He does make a difference, and he does make impact games, and he could be the missing piece to beating City in the final. He could be, and I think that's not a risk that I'm willing to take if I was Erik ten Hag as well. And I think that's the reason Erik ten Hag won't let him go, if I'm being honest with you. I think Erik ten Hag will remain firm on this. He seems like quite a firm manager, and once he's made his decision is made. But I'll be interested to see. I'm sure he'll get asked about it in the press conference coming up this afternoon, actually. That'll be interesting to see what Erik ten Hag says. And a super chat in from Ashton Gabriel saying, I can understand why he would want to go, because he will be confirmed starter in the Argentina team, as he will probably be on the bench for us. Yeah, I get that. He will obviously be starting games, but he's going to be used in every single game. He'll be Erik ten Hag's first sub, I think. I think he's that important. I think he's that impactful. And under-20s are winning an FA Cup with Manchester United to stop City potentially winning the treble. It might be different when you're from the likes of Argentina and you're from them South American countries, but for me, it's a no-brainer, really. And we've got another chat in from a member for 3 months, 207. But if he's not allowed to go, is he going to sulk and not play his best, what we're used to? He might as well go. I think if he's got the right attitude, he would understand Erik ten Hag's decision and wouldn't sulk, and he'd be professional about it. If he's got the right attitude to be a Man United player, that is. I wouldn't expect a player to sulk if a manager's made a decision when we're paying your wages every single week. It's Joey says, morning Beth, love the content, keep it up. Thank you very much for that lovely chat this morning. I hope you have a good day. And Glenn Brown says that Beth is all blocked up. Yes, I am suffering with a cold and hay fever combined at the same time. So yeah, I'm struggling right now, but you know, pushing through for you guys. And Abdul Kayum says, if Erik sees Garnacho as the future, why upset the player? I don't see it as upsetting the player, from being honest with you. I think the manager should have the final say. Sir Alex wouldn't have blinked twice at this decision. If you think about Sir Alex Ferguson, he would have said, no, you're not going. Simple as. The manager makes the decision at the end of the day. You're employed by Manchester United. I don't think Garnacho has the right to sulk, and I don't think the relationship would be tarnished with Erik ten Hag and Garnacho, because Garnacho, it's not as if he's going saying, no, sorry, you can't go and play in internationals for Argentina, the senior team. It's not as if he's saying that. He's just saying, we need you at this point in the season, and we need you here, and we need you to play. I honestly think we're a little bit too soft nowadays, especially when it comes to players. It's usually everything the player wants, the player gets. The players, you know, the player's the most important. That's what usually is kind of the mindset nowadays. And obviously players are super important to the team. They're the ones that go out on the pitch, they're the ones that play. But Erik ten Hag is the manager, he runs the team. If he doesn't want Garnacho to go because he thinks he's crucial to this part of the season for Man United, he stays. He stays. Erik ten Hag don't want to be looking back at the FA Cup final thinking, if only I had Garnacho to bring off the bench to impact this game. This is going to go down in history. The Argentina under-20s World Cup isn't at the end of the day. So maybe I'm just like a little bit harsh on this, but that would be my decision if I'm being honest. If people say, I understand people's opinions when they say let the kid go, let him go, but he's not just a kid in our academy. He's a really important player to the senior team, I think. And Demon City says, it's a no from me. He's too important for us right now. And Begus Wyger says, Garnacho can play the quarter-final under-20s. We need at least 3 to 4 games. And BA Separate says, I wouldn't play under-20s. Why downgrade when you're in the first team? I mean, that would be a little bit of my point as well. And the poll is actually very, very close, so get your last votes in that now. Would you let Garnacho go to the under-20s World Cup? Over 2,000 votes in. Yes is 47%, no is 43%. So 53% of you say no, he shouldn't. 47% say yes, you should. So it's very, very close call on this one. And I think it could go either way, if I'm being honest with you, but my personal opinion is I'd want him to stay. But let's see what happens with Erik ten Hag. I'm sure we'll get more updates this afternoon. But let's move on to the next bit of news, and it's going to take up a big chunk of the show. And again, I want you guys to get your opinions in the chat and kind of get your say in and say what you think on this. I'm pretty sure I know the majority of the community's opinion on getting Harry Kane in the summer, but there has been some fresh news on the Harry Kane subject. We know by now, with all the senior reporters reporting, that Harry Kane is Manchester United's and Erik ten Hag's top target. He is the striker that Erik ten Hag would love to bring into Manchester United in the summer. There's other targets we're looking at, but Harry Kane is the top one. But it's going to be very, very difficult to get him in the summer. And Melissa Reddy was actually talking about the situation with Erik ten Hag and how this would work with Harry Kane. And she spoke about it very well. So I want to bring in a couple of quotes and speak about them. She said that Erik ten Hag wants to sign a striker ASAP, and his ideal scenario is to have new signings in for most of the pre-season. She also said it is a growing concern at Spurs that Harry Kane will not sign fresh terms amid the turbulence engulfing the club following the World Cup. MUFC are targeting his signature. And when I watched the full kind of show with Melissa Reddy, she was basically saying that Erik ten Hag wants Harry Kane, but he's not willing for his main priority of the summer, his main summer target, he's not willing for Harry Kane to be this saga that lasts until the end of the summer transfer window. He wants to get the striker in early. He's the main priority. A striker is the main priority. The last thing he wants is to be chasing a name all summer for it to potentially not happen. Man United have to get a striker in. It is the most important thing that Erik ten Hag can do in the summer. It's the main target. It's a priority target. With your priority target, you don't want to be chasing Harry Kane all summer for him to eventually just sign a new contract at Spurs and not come. And then you're stuck. And Osimhen's already moved on. He's gone to Bayern Munich. He's gone to Chelsea. Other teams have kind of settled with the fact that they're keeping their strikers, or they've gone to different clubs. And Man United are in the position where they were last summer with a midfielder, because they chased Frankie de Jong the whole summer and didn't manage to get him, where they were chasing round trying to find someone last minute. Thankfully, we got Casemiro in, and that was an unbelievable kind of turn of events. And I'm actually happier we got Casemiro than what we would have been if we got de Jong. But with the striker, you're not going to get that same look again, going round twice. Erik ten Hag knows how important it is to get a striker at the start of the window, and he wants to get Harry Kane, but if that's not going to happen, we're going to have to move on to other targets that we'll speak about in a little bit. Melissa Reddy also said that Harry Kane would need to drive any exit from Tottenham, with the club maintaining the striker is not for sale, despite him approaching the final year of his contract, as MUFC targets his signature. Again, with Harry Kane, we know what the price is going to be. We've spoke about this many times before. I'm sure we'll speak about it more going into the summer. Harry Kane is going to cost 100 million at least. When I think about it, when I think about a 31-year-old player costing 100 million, I think that is absolutely ridiculous. When I think of spending 100 million on guaranteed goals for at least 3 years in this Man United side that is creating chances but not scoring, I think that is worth it. I honestly do. We paid 70 million for Casemiro, and Casemiro has been unbelievable. Everyone was questioning the price tag when we first bought him. Everyone was, even some Man United fans. Now no one even talks about it because of how good he's been. If the player comes in and Harry Kane scored over 20 goals in the last 6 seasons for Spurs, Spurs are very underperforming. They're not as good as Man United, and he's been doing that. If he comes in and he scores goals every single season, no one's talking about the fact that Harry Kane cost 100 million. No one is. I think he's a foolproof transfer, and I think he will score goals. 100 million is a lot of money, but would you pay 100 million to win a title? Would you pay 100 million to have a really good shot at going for the Champions League? These are decisions you're going to have to make, and I think in today's market, when Grealish costs 100 million, when Anthony costs 90 million, Harry Kane for 100 million for what he would provide, which is a world-class striker, I think it's worth it for 100. When you're getting over 100, I started to think, right, look, let's think about this wisely now. Let's get in someone a little bit younger. Let's not be completely ridiculous. But when I'm looking at 100 million for proven goal scorer that's going to score goals for at least 3 years steadily for Man United, I think about it and I think that's worth the money. But I 100% am on the same wavelength with Erik ten Hag in the fact I don't want to get dragged into a completely just mind-numbing transfer race to try and get Harry Kane that lasts the whole summer. I don't want to do Sancho 2.0. I don't want to do De Jong 2.0. I just want to get a striker in as soon as possible. And I want it to be easy. I know it's never going to be easy to get a really good striker, but I want to go into negotiations knowing that the club are willing to let them go if we meet the price tag. There's a bit of negotiations. Eventually the striker signs for Man United. He wants to come. For this to happen, What Harry Kane would need to do is put in a transfer request. He would have to do that. If I was Erik ten Hag, I'd ring Harry Kane up and say, look, I really want you at Man United. Obviously, you're going to be starting week in, week out for me. You're the missing piece to this Man United team. We're going to be really ambitious. We're getting new owners in. We want to go for the Premier League. We want to win trophies. You deserve to win trophies. You're going to be a really crucial part of my team. But before we spend weeks and weeks and months negotiating for you to come here, we need you to do your part. We need you to put in a transfer request. We need you to miss training the same way you did when you were trying to go to City. If you don't kind of do the same as what we're going to do, which is really, really push, there's no point of carrying on with this because it just won't happen. So I'd get Harry Kane's answer. Are you willing to do everything it takes to try and join Man United and win trophies? Or are you more than happy to just kind of wait out the summer and just see what happens and maybe stay at Spurs and get a trophy? Get a statue outside Spurs Stadium like Daniel Levy wants you to. Which way do you want to go on this? I'd have that conversation very, very early and then see what happens from there. But a few super chats from you coming in. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. Zah says that, how about 50 mil plus Maguire and Jones for Harry Kane? Honestly, Maguire and Jones would be a better centre-back pairing than what they've got going on now. Their defence is horrible. I love Romero, to be fair. I think Romero's really good. But I heard Mark talking on the show that Maguire would improve Spurs, and he would. Even Phil Jones, honestly, at this point. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit too far on that one, a little bit satire, but they should take that deal. They'll never take that deal. It's going to be 100 million at least or nothing for Harry Kane. But we'll talk about them wanting to reinvest this money. If I was a Spurs fan, I'd be thinking 100 million for Kane right now at 30 years old. We can reinvest that. If we reinvest that money wisely, it could benefit us. Spurs need a lot of money spending. Their squad is broke. They've got players that don't have the right mentality. They've got too many average players. They rely on the front three ridiculously. They need money spent. Harry Kane could provide quite a lot of money for this transfer window for them. Rory C says, you need to think long term and the implications of not letting him go. It might destroy his relationship with United. Plus, it's Argentina and they do well. Another little comment on Garnacho then going to Argentina. It's interesting to see how much of a mixed review it is with Garnacho on that. Obviously, I've stated my opinion, but people will have mixed opinions on this. People think about the national team differently. I love watching England when it's the Euros or the World Cup, but apart from that, not interested at all. Maybe it's a little bit different for the players, but for me, it has to be club over country, if I'm being honest. People saying let him go, I just think that is a little bit of a soft mentality. Tristan Millward, I've already done that super chat. Thank you for getting that in. And yeah, I think we've got all the super chats there. And Mateus says club first. Yeah, so many different opinions on that. But let's talk a little bit more about Harry Kane because I really kind of want to get to grips with this. And let's get a poll going about Harry Kane, actually. Let's end the Garnacho one. It's ended on 52% no, 48% yes. So really close. And I think it could go either way with Erik ten Hag as well. But let's get a poll going on Harry Kane. Would you buy Harry Kane for 100 million when we get him, if we can get him at the start of the summer? If Harry Kane puts a transfer request in, let's get the poll. Would you buy Harry Kane for 100 million? Is he worth 100 million to Manchester United? Let's get that going. And at the moment, we have no updates on what Harry Kane actually wants to do with his future. There's talks of him not wanting to extend at Tottenham, but there's talks of him wanting to stay and be a club legend and have that legacy. I honestly think if I'm Harry Kane right now, and each player will think differently. If I'm Harry Kane, I'm looking at Spurs. You've just got rid of Conte to then just keep his assistant in, who was awful. I'm sorry, he was awful. A back four of Porro, Perisic, Dyer, and I think it was Romero as well who played, or was it Sanchez? I'm not sure what it was, but the back four with Perisic and Porro as full-backs and a back four was just against Newcastle just summed up his kind of time in charge. It was awful. So they kept him as an interim. Then just to sack him, and now have gone back to Ryan Mason that honestly has all the tactical knowledge of a brick wall, in my opinion. Ryan Mason is just, he's the feel-good factor. He's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Actually, maybe that's a bit disrespectful to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he's the feel-good factor. He brings nothing from a tactical coach point of view as an interim coach. Spurs and Daniel Levy have basically just written off the season, and they're going to look for a new manager when it gets to the summer. So if I'm Harry Kane, I'm thinking, there's no new manager being touted. Pochettino's going to Chelsea. I think that's what would have made Harry Kane stay. If Spurs would have gone and got Pochettino back, I think Harry Kane would have stayed because of their relationship. And part of me thinks maybe Chelsea will go for Harry Kane if Pochettino's there. But then I think he wouldn't go against Spurs fans and go to another London club. So it's going to be a very complicated situation with Harry Kane in the summer. If I'm Harry Kane, I'm thinking, Daniel Levy can speak about putting a trophy of me outside Spurs Stadium all he wants. But if Spurs don't have any trophies in the cabinet, what does it really mean? It's a club that hasn't got a history of winning things, that isn't going to win things, if I'm being honest. Spurs are Spurs at the end of the day. And, I mean, prove me wrong. But Daniel Levy's saying he thinks Harry Kane can win trophies with Spurs in his career. How much time have we got left, Daniel? Because Harry Kane is 30 to 31 now. Spurs are in a horrible place. They need a new goalkeeper. They need at least 2 new full-backs. I think they need a right-back and a left-back, honestly. I think they need 2 new midfielders. I think the squad is shot, if I'm being honest with you. Shot. They need investment in that squad. It is bang average. That's going to take years to rebuild with a new manager. By then, Harry Kane, 34, 35? Is he going to really be... And then you've got to get to the point where you're going to win trophies, and that's if everything happens smoothly and it doesn't go wrong. So if I'm Harry Kane, I'm looking at the situation. I didn't go to City when I had the chance. I stayed at Spurs. They've stopped me from leaving multiple times. I've done everything I can for this club because you can't fault Harry Kane. He's give everything to Spurs. I think it's time for him to put himself first and go to Man United. I think if he goes to Man United can win trophies. Harry Kane can win trophies. It'd be a brilliant fit. I've always thought it'd be a good fit. But at the end of the day, Man United don't necessarily have to get Harry Kane. There's other strikers on the market. But if I was Erik ten Hag, I speak about it again. I say to Harry Kane, are you willing to push for this move? Are you willing to do what it takes to come to Manchester United? Because if you're not, we'll just end things here. We really want you, but it isn't going to happen if you don't make this push. And if he doesn't, we move on straight away. We go for somebody else. Osimhen's available. If you pay the money, there's Gonzalo Ramos, there's Vlahovic, there's other strikers out there that you can go and get. There is. It's not the be-all and end-all on Harry Kane. Is he Erik ten Hag's first choice? Yes. Would he be a world-class signing? Absolutely. Anyone who doesn't think Harry Kane wouldn't be a world-class signing, I really struggle to think what football you're watching, genuinely. He would be brilliant for us. But I'm not waiting around all summer to try and get his signature. I'm not waiting around to the final week thinking we're going to get Harry Kane, and next thing you know, Daniel Levy just does what Daniel Levy does and completely blocks the move. He's forced him to sign a new contract. I just think it's going to be a real transfer saga if Harry Kane doesn't put in that transfer request in early doors. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. If he puts that transfer request in, I think we get Harry Kane. We'll have to pay 100 million, but we'll get him. If he doesn't, I don't think there's a chance. I think Daniel Levy will just put his foot down and say, no, he's not going anywhere. Because Harry Kane is Spurs at the end of the day. If Harry Kane isn't there, they have no world-class players. Son, arguably. But, again, he's not been at it this season. But if I'm Daniel Levy, I'm thinking, let's invest. Let's get a new goalkeeper. Let's get another... Like, what Spurs should have done, honestly, is let Harry Kane go for 100 million and then gone and bought Evan Ferguson from Brighton. He's signed a new contract now, so he won't leave. But that would have been the perfect move for them as a stepping stone. Evan Ferguson could have developed there, played up front, and they could have had another Harry Kane on the hands in a couple of years. So we'll see what Tottenham do. I think they're holding on to the past a little bit of Harry Kane. I think they should reinvest that money, if I'm being honest. But we'll see. And we've got a few chats in from... We've got a member here saying, Michael Morris, a member for 8 months. Kane will be the final piece of a squad. We are at the start of the rebuild. We need someone for the next 5 years. I understand that. And I said Osimhen is actually my first priority, but Harry Kane, I would never turn it down. I think he's world class. I think he is. And if he's the striker Erik ten Hag wants, go and try and get him. Andy Mack says, I think he says Kanye, but I think it means Kane there. I don't think Kanye is going to be sticking on a Man United shirt and going playing up front for Manchester United, but you never know. Andy Mack says Kane needs to emulate Van Persie if he is ambitious. Exactly. Think about, well, I mean, it was a different situation. I think Man United are in a rebuild and they need more players than what Man United did back then. Van Persie was the final cherry on top for Sir Alex Ferguson, and he won us a league. And it was absolutely the right move for Van Persie to make. Harry Kane comes, it kind of emulates that, but we still need other positions. We need a midfielder, we need a centre-back, we need a goalkeeper. There is like certain other positions we need to go and get, but it'd be a massive, massive, massive part of that team that would be fixed. Because striker's one of the most important positions on the pitch, and we don't have a sustainable one right now. We don't, and all the top clubs in Europe do. So we've seen how much Bayern Munich have dropped off since Lewandowski went. It's such an important part of a team to be able to go and score goals. When we talk about, look at Bayern Munich. Against City, I thought they were creating chances. They were getting to the edge of the box, but they just had no end product. And it cost them at the end of the day. And Man United are going to be in that boat if we don't fix this situation soon. We've been in that boat this season. We've relied on our defence massively to help us out of games. Massively. We've not been a high-scoring team. We need a striker, and we need one urgently. And people are laughing in the chat saying Harry Kane being world-class. How can you watch the Premier League week in, week out and not think Harry Kane's world-class? I can't get my head around that. He scored 20-plus goals for 6 years straight in the Premier League for an underperforming, awful Spurs side. And you're telling me he's not world-class? It's ridiculous, honestly. And let's see what the poll's saying. I'm pretty sure what it's going to say. But, oh my gosh. I can't get my head around that. 80%, 79% of you don't want to sign Harry Kane in the summer. Wow. Wow. I knew the community was quite anti-Harry Kane, but I didn't realise it was that much. Oh, and people saying, but he hasn't won anything and bottles every chance at a trophy. Spurs bottles every chance at a trophy. It's not a one-man team. It's not Harry Kane pitching up to cup finals on his own, pitching up to games on his own. It's not. Harry Kane, he's world class. And in a good team that has that world class mentality, he would be brilliant. I have no doubts about that. I understand, there's two concerns that I understand. Pace and age. I get that. I've always said Osimhen's my first choice for the summer because I want a pacey striker. I want someone young and fresh that Erik ten Hag can mould and coach and build out and can lead the line for Man United for many years. I've said that. But if Erik ten Hag wants Harry Kane, I have no problem with that, and I definitely don't have an issue with the fact that he's a bottler and he doesn't have mentality, because I don't think that's fair to say. He hasn't had a fair shout. He's been in an underperforming Spurs side for ages. You could stick any player in that Spurs side, and it wouldn't make too much of a difference unless you had a couple of really strong players with a good mentality. It's not just 1 versus 10 at the end of the day. So to say Harry Kane is a bottler and doesn't have the mentality to win stuff because he's been at Spurs and he hasn't won anything in his career, he's been in an underperforming side for most of his career, a side that he's better than as a player. I think it's really, really unfair to say. It really is. It's like before Bruno won the Carabao Cup with United, would you have said to Bruno, he's a bottler, he has no mentality, he must be crap because he's never won anything? Would you say that? Would you say that? No. You wouldn't do. I wouldn't do, because I think Bruno Fernandes is an unbelievable player. It's like taking Haaland. Haaland at Dortmund. Didn't win the Bundesliga, has not been winning Champions League. Oh, he's an awful player. It's just not. It's not right. It's not right. Harry Kane is a very good player that's in a side that is too poor for him. But I mean, everyone has different opinions. Paul Woodley says the only reason I said no was the price, 60 to 70 million, then yes. Okay, yeah, I understand the price. I understand the price tag. But if you're buying Anthony for 90 mil, which I really like Anthony, I really do. It's not me coming for Anthony, I really like him. If you're buying Grealish for 100 mil, which I think Grealish has come really good this season, he's adapted, he's playing really well. In the market right now, guaranteed goals for 3 years is worth 100 million. It is. It's worth it. And Seb Watson says 100 million for a year left on his contract is too much. The price is slightly too high, but you're looking at guaranteed goals for the next 3 years. What are Manchester United missing? Goals. I think people would be shocked at the impact Harry Kane would have on this Man United side. Let's Talk said it's not that we are against Harry Kane, we just don't want him for 100 mil. Okay, fair enough. Everyone can have different opinions on different things. I just can't get my head around the fact people would actually say no to Harry Kane, but price and age is understandable. But this bottlers thing, do you think Pep Guardiola, when he tried to go for Harry Kane, before he got Erling Haaland, thought, yeah, you know, Harry Kane's a bottler, we're not going to go for him? No, he tried to get Harry Kane because he's an unbelievable talent. Pep Guardiola wanted Harry Kane, desperately. Harry Kane was missing training to try and go to City. Does Pep Guardiola not know what a good striker is? I mean, he went on to get Erling Haaland, and he's been unbelievable. But Harry Kane he is a top talent, and every manager and everybody who knows football in the world knows how brilliant he is. He'd improve every single side in world football, honestly, apart from City right now, because they already have Haaland, who is unstoppable. Barcelona have Lewandowski, who's brilliant, but he is a top-level world-class striker, in my opinion. Got another poll in the chat. How much is Harry Kane worth? I'm going to go with 75 to 100 on this one, but you guys get your opinions in. Do I think 100 million is a little bit overpriced? Yeah, we probably should pay 80, but we have to pay that extra 20 million to get someone in that's going to potentially be able to challenge for Premier Leagues, challenge for Champions Leagues. I'm more than happy to do that, and I think Eric Ten Hag would be as well. Nicholas Liao says, Beth, Kane doesn't guarantee goals if he comes to United. He's playing under a different system with different expectations. Torres flopped at Chelsea too, despite being brilliant at Liverpool. Okay, I understand your point, but in my opinion, he does guarantee goals because he's playing in a really underperforming Spurs side. You bring him into a side that actually creates a lot of chances every game. He's going to score more goals. Look at him under Mourinho. He was flourishing. That was a very defensive side, and he still managed to score many goals. Conte's side, quite defensive, wasn't a side that would go out there and score loads of goals. Harry Kane still managed to score quite a lot of goals in that side. If you give Harry Kane opportunities, he's going to score. Bruno Fernandes putting balls into Harry Kane, he's going to score. Harry Kane feeding balls through to Marcus Rashford, Rashford's going to score. I think he'd work well in this United team, if I'm being honest. And Zar says... sorry, not Zar. Nor says 50 million, yes. 100 million, hell no. I won't sponsor Spurs. Is his next signing? Daniel Levy wouldn't either. You're never getting Harry Kane for 50 mil, so there's not even point entertaining it if that's the situation you're on. Wow. Okay, 70% of people think Harry Kane is worth 50 to 75 million. Can I ask you, how much was Casemiro worth when we bought him from Real Madrid at 30 years old? How much was Casemiro worth at 30 years old? Striker's one of the most important positions on the pitch. I think he's worth more than 75. I think he's worth from 80 to 100, if I'm being honest with you. But, you know, that's what the community thinks, so it's interesting to see different opinions. But, I mean, there is, again, in the chat, Beth, I sent some British bias. No, people think I am, you know, the queen of British bias. I'm not. I just appreciate world-class players. Harry Kane is world-class. I think Victor Osimhen is a very, very good striker. Very good. He's not British. It doesn't matter the nationality for me. It really doesn't. It honestly doesn't. It's just who I think is a very good footballer. And Harry Kane is that to me. But there is some other options. Obviously, there's Victor Osimhen that Man United could go for, which would be my priority. Victor Osimhen's going to cost you 130, 140 mil, I assume. Maybe pushing it with 140. But when we had Romano on the show, he said Victor Osimhen is 100 million is false. Napoli are going to want a lot of money out of him. Napoli are hard to deal with. They're going to want a lot of money. People would probably justify it more because he's 24 years old and you could probably get a profit back out of him. But Victor Osimhen, despite him, I think, being definitely what Man United needs, definitely could come into that team and score goals, he's not as guaranteed as what Harry Kane is. Harry Kane's guaranteed. Victor Osimhen, you're hoping he's going to come in and have that impact. There'll be a lot of people saying, well, Lukaku did amazingly in Serie A. In the Premier League, he was a flop, which he was. I don't agree with that statement. I think Victor Osimhen is a very different player to Lukaku. I think his touch is better. I think he's more agile. I just think he's got more future ahead of him. But that could be an argument. You never know when someone actually comes to the Prem what they're going to be. I mean, think about, was it Rory Jennings who said that Haaland wasn't going to score many goals and it was disrespectful to Salah and Son to say that Haaland would outscore them this season? Then Haaland's come in from the Bundesliga that everyone thinks is rubbish and just been ridiculous. He's been a robot. So you never know. It's based on the player, but Osimhen's definitely a player that is, I think, more catered to United right now. It's probably the most catered to Man United and what they need. But it's going to be a lot of money. It's going to eat a lot of the transfer budget. Is United willing to spend that on the priority target? We'll have to wait and see. RL Supremacy says, let's not fool ourselves. Kane isn't a winner. Cassie is a serial winner. I'd rather pay 100 million for Cassie than for Kane any day. Interesting super chat there. I mean, different opinions all round. I love Casemiro, and he is a serial winner. But Harry Kane is world-class striker. That is going to have the same impact or a similar impact than what he would have if he came. Get in the chats down below. Would you rather, I mean, I think I know what people would want, but would you rather go for an Osimhen for 130 or a Harry Kane for 100? What would you rather do? Or even, you know, Napoli might not let Osimhen go. Spurs might not let Kane go, and then you've got to search the market a little bit more for that. But I think Osimhen will go in the summer. I think he's going to push a move. I think he's a player that would push quite a few clubs after him. If we don't go for Osimhen, he'll go to Bayern Munich. If we go for Harry Kane, Osimhen will go to Bayern Munich. If we go for Osimhen early doors, then I think we will be able to secure him. I think we're the most attractive option. But when I think about this is why we need to be very diligent in what we do this summer. If we waste too much time on Harry Kane, Osimhen could have already gone to Bayern Munich by then. And then you're looking around and thinking, right, so we're not going to be able to get Harry Kane, and now Victor Osimhen's already gone. We've got to be really, really astute in the way that we go about transfers this season, and really, really smart as well. The last thing you want is to be chasing Harry Kane, Osimhen goes to Bayern Munich, and then you're stuck thinking, right, what's our third, what's our fourth choice striker now at this point? We need to think about what we want, and we need to have them conversations and know the clarity of what's happening really early doors in the summer. And Noor says, Casemiro is a trophy-winning midfielder. That's like purchasing Mercedes. You are buying class. Yeah, I think Casemiro was a brilliant signing. I'm not saying that. I would pay 70 million all over again for him. I'm just saying when people talk about price and the age, everyone said that about Casemiro, and it turned out to be a very, very good signing. I think if a player is worth it, they are worth it at the end of the day, despite the age. But anyway, that's the situation on the strikers, and that is what we're going into the summer thinking. Will Harry Kane push for this move? If he doesn't, straight away go in for Osimhen. I mean, I'd go in for Osimhen anyway, but Eric Ten Hag wants Harry Kane, so that's the route we're going to go down. We'll just have to see what happens. And I kind of understand the point of people saying, why would we strengthen a rival and giving him that much money? But at the end of the day, you're taking away their biggest asset, and that's massively going to strengthen us. You've got to focus on yourselves at this point. A lot of people putting Højlund in the chat. Højlund's a very, very promising young talent. He's not a player I'd rely on to be the number 9 for Man United this upcoming season. He's a player you'd bring in as well as an Osimhen, as well as a Harry Kane. He's someone you'd nurture into the first team. He's not a player that's going to come in right now and lead the line for Man United, from what I've seen and from what I know anyway. But, you know, a lot of people see these young talents and you think, yes, let's get him in now, we can lead the line for Man United. It just isn't going to work out like that. It's just not. He'd need time to adapt. And I think it's unfair on the player to expect him to do that. But a very promising talent that I wouldn't mind getting in. And to be honest with you, we should have an Osimhen or a Kane and somebody else learning underneath him. We need two options. We need players to play in cup games. We need to alternate the squad. So he's definitely someone that we'd be looking at. Robert Ellsbury says, morning Beth, get well soon. If we get Neymar Jr., let's hope he doesn't get a knock, because he will roll the way down the M6 motorway. Yeah, I think, I've not had my say on this Neymar stuff, but I think it's complete rubbish. And I'm in the camp as, I wouldn't go near him. I think he's an unbelievable player. Not right for Man United, in my opinion. People have different opinions on that because he is world class and he's unbelievable, one of the best players that I've seen. But I wouldn't go near him because of the injuries, because of the wages, because of the ego, because of the way it disrupts the squad. And plus, where is he going to play? Like, he would play if he came because of how good he is, but he's not a position that we're in desperate need of, if I'm being honest with you. But anyway, let's move on to thinking about Tottenham tomorrow and what is going to be a really big miss for Manchester United, and it is that Bruno Fernandes is expected to miss the game against Tottenham tomorrow, and this is coming from the Mirror. This is really disappointing, and I think it's really typical that the one time Bruno Fernandes has a rest, he gets injured the next game. Like, Bruno Fernandes has been running through brick walls for Man United for months and months on end now. I think he's only been injured something stupid like 3 times in his career. Or he's only missed like a really small portion of games in his entire career. He doesn't get injured. He's somehow made of metal. Like, it barely ever happens. But in the Brighton game, he did suffer that ankle injury. And you know what? Fair play to Bruno for playing on. And that is what a United player is. Played through the pain. Had to be taken off by Eric Ten Hag to protect him. Wouldn't come off the pitch. And it just reverts back to me. Remember when Gary Neville was trying to say that Bruno Fernandes was asking to be substituted at Anfield and spread that narrative across the whole United fan base? How bang out of order was that, really? Bruno is, if you know Bruno Fernandes and you watch him week in, week out, he's never the type of player to do that, ever. He'd been absolutely crunched. He's wearing a protective boot, and yeah, it is just for precaution, but there was crutches next to his couch with a protective boot on, and he suffered that injury in the 23rd minute, and Erik ten Hag had to sub him off at the end of the game to stop him from playing. He played through that the whole game, and he actually played quite well. He was playing really well before the injury, but even when he got injured, he was still sprinting, he was still running, he was still trying to tackle, he was still putting his body on the line. That is an embodiment of a Man United player, of a Man United captain, and he won't be available for tomorrow, and I think it's a huge, huge miss. As I've said multiple times before, it's not a coincidence. When Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, we are a much poorer side. We managed to get through the last bit of the Brighton game without him, but it was a struggle. I'm worried about Spurs tomorrow, if I'm being honest. I'm worried. And after I just spent a lot of time talking about how rubbish Spurs were, they have got it in them to have that one-off game. They've got it in them. They've beat City this season. They have got world-class players. They've got it in them to have that one game against Man United, especially considering they're coming off the back of a 6-1 battering at St James's Park, and they've just refunded the fans for being that poor. So they're going to be banged up for it. It's going to be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Man United have just played 120 minutes midweek. I think it's going to be a big ask for Man United to go to Spurs tomorrow and get the win. I'd be happy with the point, and I know that's a bit of a negative mindset, but I would be. I just think it's going to be a really big ask without Bruno Fernandes in that team, and I'd be interested to see if Maguire will come back in as well. There's a lot of contributing factors that would change my mind on the result, but I am worried about it. A super chat in saying, sorry, I've just lost it there. I've just lost that super chat I was on. Let me try and find it. Let me try and find it. Yeah, here we go. A super chat in saying, Beth, don't you think Kane is a stat padder? Can you recall a Champions League knockout round Benzema-esque performance from Kane? No, but that's because Spurs aren't in the Champions League very often. And yes, they're running this season, but again, a really poor side. And you look at Real Madrid, they've got Modric, they've got Cruz, they've got Camavinga, they've got Valverde, they had Casemiro in the past, they've got Vinicius Jr. Like, come on now, you cannot be comparing Benzema in that Real Madrid side to Harry Kane playing with the likes of Skip. Like, genuinely, it's a different side. It's a completely different side. Real Madrid is a much better side than Spurs. Harry Kane is carried Spurs a lot of times, and he's scored goals in really important games for them. I think bringing up a Champions League stat from a Benzema-esque performance, if you put Kane in that Real Madrid side, I have no doubts he'd produce them types of performances in the Champions League. It's a different type of team. It really is. It's like giving an artist a set of paintbrushes and saying, you know, create a painting for me, and then giving an artist some sticks and you know, some oil or something, saying create the same thing. It's really difficult when you're in a side that is just completely of different qualities. I'm not saying Spurs is absolutely horrendous, but comparing Real Madrid to Tottenham is just different sides, different cuts of the cloth, honestly. Daniel Elaney says, forget Spurs. Forget Spurs, they want pounds and Napoli wants euros. Well, yeah, you are gonna want money for a transfer, especially someone that is of very good quality. And Andy Mack, a member for 29 months, says, Beth, remember when Anthony was worth 40 mil last year and he cost us 80 mil due to incompetence? Yes, and that's why we can't be incompetent again this summer. We've got to get our transfers sorted out early doors, and it is hard with the ownership. Friday, an update on that. I'm really excited. But apparently we've got some quotes coming in from Luckhurst that I'm just going to go and have a little gander at the United Stand Twitter to bring for you. Here we go. A few Harry Kane quotes from Samuel Luckhurst coming in right now. And the first one is that MUFC are reluctant to become embroiled in a saga with Tottenham over Harry Kane, despite Erik ten Hag's wish to sign the striker. How many summers do we say this? I'm pretty sure we had the same news coming out surrounding Sancho. Man United do not want to get involved in a transfer saga for Jadon Sancho, yet we do end up missing out and going to sign him the next summer. I mean, United are obviously going to come out and say these things because realistically, of course, they're not going to want to get embroiled in a transfer saga with Tottenham to sign Harry Kane. They're going to want to get it done early doors. But United somehow always manage to get themselves in a situation where that does end up happening. I mean, it's happened multiple times before. It's not a new thing with Man United. Maybe if we get new ownership in and the staff changes very quickly, that might not happen. But as it stands, I could see us getting caught in a couple of transfer sagas this summer. I don't want us to, because we all know how mind-numbing it is, waiting for the transfer to happen, having shows every day talking about it and knowing it's just going to take forever. But that's the way Man United roll, unfortunately, and I don't see it changing until we get new staff and new ownership in. But Samuel Luckhurst, by the way, very close to the club. This is going to be stuff coming out that the club obviously wants to put out there. And again, sources say that MUFC do not want to get involved in Spurs chairman Daniel Levy's games, such as his I don't know what that word means. Is that bad from me? Sources say MUFC do not want to get involved in Spurs chairman Daniel Levy's games and drag out negotiations for deals involving Tottenham players. So again, they don't want to get embroiled in negotiations. They don't want it to go on forever. We've had this news. This news has been filtered out throughout the last couple of days regarding the Harry Kane story. United clearly want Harry Kane. They just don't want to have this saga around it because they need a striker in straight away. Again, Ten Hag will be very particular. He'll want a striker. He'll have gone to Man United and said, I want my striker in before I start the pre-season tour. Can we make that happen? And then John Murtaugh sat there thinking, God, does he realise I have to deal with Daniel Levy throughout this whole summer? No, Eric, if you want Harry Kane, it probably isn't going to happen. And then Ten Hag's like, well, I want a striker in for pre-season. These are the discussions that are going to be happening right now. Another quote, the last one from Samuel Luckhurst. Although well-placed sources say Eric Ten Hag is obsessed with Harry Kane, MUFC are also interested in Victor Osimhen. That's what I like to hear, because either of these players will be brilliant signings for United. If we get Harry Kane in, brilliant. If we get Victor Osimhen in, amazing. I would prefer Osimhen personally, but if we get either of them, it'll be a transformation for Man United. I mean, bless his heart, means well, it gives everything for the club, but going from Wout Weghorst to Harry Kane or Victor Osimhen would be one of the biggest glow-ups that I've ever seen, genuinely. It would be ridiculous. So either of these players is going to be unbelievable. Man United have to get it right, because this is going to be the striker that's going to be at the club for 3 or 4 years from now, going to be leading the line for Man United. They have to get someone that is going to be world-class or is already world-class. They need to get the best of the best. Victor Osimhen, I think he's on his way. Harry Kane already is. Either of them strikers would be perfect. And I think we all know that the chat would prefer Osimhen. I would prefer Osimhen. Certain people out there would prefer Harry Kane because of the guarantees that come with him. But to know that we're definitely going for one of them two players really kind of does make me happy. And it shows that the majority of our budget this season, it's going to go on a striker. It really is. And I'm happy about that, because that's the main priority, if I'm being honest with you. 3am says, Eric Ten Hag has a long list. Obsessed is reaching. Well, you know with like journalists and news reports, sometimes you use language to kind of make the story seem a little bit more out there. But I do think Eric Ten Hag does probably really want Harry Kane. A lot coaches all over Europe will want Harry Kane. Like, he's a brilliant player. And the Bourbon Kid says Kane will join Poch and Chelsea. I really doubt he'd move to Chelsea from Spurs. I think he cares too much about the Spurs fans to do that, if I'm being honest. And Lazy Fair says, Osimhen, I need victorious Osimhen at my club, please. And thank you for everyone for saying get well. It's only a bit of hay fever. It's only a little bit of a cold. I'll be fine. Honestly, it's nothing I'm not used to. Hay fever, if anyone's actually feeling a bit hay fever at the moment, it is killing me off. It is honestly killing me off. I've got tablets going left, right and centre. It's just, if you suffer with hay fever, it is so bloody annoying, honestly. And Tim Collins says, don't rule it out, Beth. Obviously, Poch and Kane have had a very good relationship in the past. And Monkey Man says, Beth, we need young, hungry players that can be developed by Eric Ten Hag. I'm done with pensioners. Yeah, obviously, Osimhen gives you that 24 years old, hungry, gonna want to win trophies, athletic, good in the air, pace, very good at runs in behind. Osimhen does give you the whole package. He really does. I'm going to be excited either way. I'm excited for this transfer window, even though the ownership thing hasn't happened yet. I'll be more excited when the ownership situation's resolved itself. But I think this summer transfer window for United is going to be really good. Eric Ten Hag's second window. Striker, we are going to sign one. No matter who's in charge, we're going to have to sign a striker. It's going to be, I'm excited for it. I honestly am. But moving on to the last little bit of the show, talking about the Spurs game. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes is going to be a big miss. I just want to ask people who they would play in the midfield three. Let's get one last poll going on this. It's going to be Casemiro and Eriksen without a doubt. They're going to be the two that are going to be playing in the midfield three. Who would be your third midfielder? Would you go for Sabitzer or would you go for Fred? Or would you even be tempted to play Sancho as a number 10? Fred, Sabitzer or Sancho, who would be your third midfielder for Manchester United going into the Tottenham game? Get your comments in and we'll get a poll going on that as well. A lot of mixed reviews between Fred and Sabitzer already. I personally, it'd have to be either Fred or Sabitzer. I don't think Sancho's physical enough for that sort of game. I think it'd be very, very, very a little bit silly to go to Spurs away and open to put Sancho in as a number 10. Playing against the likes of, Kane, Son, Kulusevski. I think you need a little bit more security in there. But, Erik ten Hag made controversial decisions before. And Sancho, Fred and Sabitzer are the three options we're talking about. A lot of people, I'll see a few Sancho shouts, Fred shouts, Sabitzer shouts coming in. Me, some people say Martial is 10. Weghorst at 10 even. Weghorst at 10, that worked well against Brighton in the dying minutes. I don't think Weghorst does start as the 10, but people have, Ricky would do it. McTominay's still injured, everyone. People talking about McTominay. Here we go, the poll's up. Sabitzer, Fred, Sancho or Weghorst. I'm going to have my say. I'll tell you what mine is after I've seen a few of the poll results come in. But while we check on them poll results, we've got a little bit of a nothing story that I just wanted to bring up because I found it funny. And it's from the Daily Express. Take this with the biggest pinch of salt that you can imagine. And it is that Manchester United could raid Chelsea for a third time over the past decade, with Cesar Azpilicueta apparently being eyed to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Juan Mata and Nemanja Matic. And when we talked about signing a right back, I didn't have Azpilicueta on my bingo card for 2023. Talking about going for the worst possible signing in the world, genuinely, and that's not me trying to be negative. I honestly think this story is complete nonsense, but I did just want to bring it up because I wanted to have a little bit of a laugh at it, to be honest with you. Azpilicueta, one of the most unlikable players in the league, can't start for Chelsea, who are 11th. Don't, please don't even think about doing that deal, please. I'm sick of going for pensioners like you saying that just would that would be one of the worst signings I've ever seen, if I'm being honest with you. So I think that is a little bit of a pinch of salt. Azpilicueta probably wants to move away from Chelsea. I can see him going to a Spanish club, something like that. Won't go to United. I very much doubt it'd be something Erik ten Hag would want to do. Probably something the board would want to do, Man United board, but not something Erik ten Hag would want to do. Glazers all over it is what people are saying on that one. But votes in the poll, 47% Fred, 45% Sabitzer, with 5% Sancho, 2% Weghorst. Poor Weghorst, honestly, poor Weghorst. But no, I think it is between Sabitzer and Fred. I would go with Sabitzer. The reason I'd go with Sabitzer is because he gives you left and right foot moving forward. He can score goals. And Fred gives you energy as well. Although you could play Fred next to Casemiro and then play Eriksen as more as the forward player. I think I would just go for Sabitzer though. I would just go for Sabitzer. But Fred wouldn't be a bad option either. I think both of them are decent options to come in. But I would go for Sabitzer. But then when I think about the Sevilla game, when we didn't have Bruno and we had a midfielder, Sabitzer, Eriksen and Casemiro, it really didn't work at all, did it? But then I look at Spurs and I think their midfield is nothing to write home about, is it? Let's be honest. You don't really need too many good players to beat that midfield. It's awful. The only player I actually rate in there, the only two players I rate are Bentancur and Højbjerg, and Bentancur is injured, and Højbjerg is decent. He's not absolutely unreal. So I think Sabitzer or Fred can do a job. I think if you're playing Sabitzer, you're moving Eriksen back and playing him as that 8 that he's played the majority for Manchester United this season. You're playing Sabitzer as the cam, dropping in and out with Martial. I think that worked well in the first leg in the Sevilla game. Worked horrible in the second leg, but then again, when we played the midfield 3 against Fulham, we were really, really poor, and then we played it against, I think it was the next game, and it was really, really good. So, it's different games, it can work in different ways. Fred, I thought when he came on for Brighton, looked decent. He could be playing more next to Casemiro, give Eriksen the reins to be more of that number 10. Has he got the energy, though, to be in there playing the number 10 the whole game? I'm not sure. But you know what? Whoever starts Sabitzer or Fred, they're going to get subbed for each other anyway. It'll change it up probably around the 70th minute. So either of them I'd be comfortable with. But I would just go for Sabitzer. But I've got to say, Ricky keeps telling me we're no different without Bruno. The Sevilla game, anybody would have got beat to them that game. They were just too good for us. It didn't make a difference, apparently. Not having Bruno there, it wouldn't have made a difference. Well, So far, the only game we've won without Bruno in the team was against Charlton, which, come on, it's Charlton. So I'm honestly excited to see how we perform against Spurs. I'm also very nervous because our track record without Bruno in the team is very poor, especially going to a hungry Spurs team that have just got battered 6-1, that have just had to reimburse their fans, that are also in... If they don't win this game, I think they're out of the top 4 race completely. They kind of have to win it. They're going to be up for it. We've just played 120 minutes. Without Bruno Fernandes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough go at it. But we'll have to wait and see, and we'll see what Erik ten Hag has to say in the press conference coming up this afternoon as well. But thank you everyone for getting your comments in the chat, talking about Harry Kane. Obviously a very kind of controversial name to bring up on the United Stand shows. Some people really like him. A lot of you guys don't want to go for him, but Osman as well being included in the mix with Samuel Luckhurst. Excited about that name being thrown in. Garnacho, again, a lot of mixed reviews on the Garnacho story. But that's what it's about. It's about community in the chat and everybody getting a different opinion in, and that's what it's all about. And finally, the super chat from Alan Chu saying, Beth, would you take Polina next season? Yes, I absolutely would. I think he would be... But I think Polina would be the Casemiro replacement, so he'd probably want to play first-team football. Polina at Manchester United wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't be playing every game because Casemiro would. Whenever Casemiro got a rest, that's when Polina would come in. So yeah, I absolutely would love to get him in. That's the kind of depth United should have. But it's just whether Polina would want to be a second-string player, because he's very, very good and probably could do better than that, if I'm being honest with you. But thank you everyone for getting your comments in the comments down below. Thank you for everyone getting involved in all the polls, in all the chats. Make sure you like the video as always. Subscribe to United Stand, and Mark will be live in a couple of hours. I think maybe an hour and a half, a couple of hours, speaking about the press conference. The press conference is coming from Erik ten Hag. Pre-match press conference for Spurs. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you everyone for watching the show. As always, have a brilliant rest of your day, and hopefully you get some good news regarding the press conference. I'll see you on the next one, everyone. See you later.